Hi everyone, welcome to week 2. This week I'm going to go over our assignment and our discussion board again. I'm also going to continue to upload the PowerPoint presentation that I'm using so that way you can actually read some of the examples. Once again, these examples aren't perfect, but they give you a sense of what I'm looking for here. So it's something to give you a starting point, kind of like a template. It's not meant to be a final answer. This week, let's start with the discussion board, then we'll move into the assignment. This is a fun discussion board because it talks about wages that you're going to see in your geographic location, the national average, see how things are moving. That's what it's meaning when it says here, in what direction. Are we going up, are we expanding, or are we contracting? And then you're going to talk about, was the data what you expected, why or why not, and how does this impact your choices? What future career? Where in nursing are you going to go? What specific location might you want to live in? So this is an example. It has data from a couple years ago. And then it talks about their specific location and their wage rate. And then talks about some of those factors that can determine wages. Sometimes if they have a shortage, that'll increase wages. Sometimes if you live in an area with a higher cost of living, that will increase wages. Once again, you know, that kind of depends on the area. And then it gives just some further information on factors that kind of impact that decision. This is a really good example of something you might come up with, has some great references at the bottom. Here's another one, obviously similar. It has, you know, wages, and then it talks about different factors, metropolitan versus rural. That's another great example. And then it does go into the shortages that I mentioned before. And here it talks about the high demand. A lot of the nursing careers are in very high demand, and so that's going to make a difference. Also, it's talking about those nurses who do have a BSN, which obviously is going to make a difference in your wages as well with the extra education. Here's an example of a reply. This is somebody, you know, kind words at the beginning, and then a discussion on their post to provide some further information as well as their opinions. I love it when you share your opinions. It makes the discussion board more interesting. Obviously, you know, make sure that it's kind and appropriate, but I love hearing kind of your situation, especially where you live, what nursing is like there, things like that. When you do this post this week, it requires 3 sources using citations and APA format with those references. Post on 2 different days. It's recommended by Wednesday at midnight. If you're really busy, that's perfectly acceptable, but it's easier to find people to reply to if you're posting earlier on in that week. Next, you're going to give your first presentation. This is going to be 3 to 5 minutes long, slide length of 5 to 7 slides. You're going to narrate this. You're going to use 1 news article. The narration should be audio. If you love to make videos, you can make a video if that's easier for you. What you're gonna do is identify market equilibrium price. I'm gonna go through an example of what that might look like. This is a theoretical assignment, so you don't need an actual price here. This is just a generic idea of an assignment. And then we're gonna talk about how the news article might shift either market supply or demand, or potentially both, because of something changing in the news. And then it talks about whether that change is good or bad for consumers. Now, some people every term say, I cannot do narration, my computer will not allow it. If you do not use narration, you cannot earn points for organization and delivery. Some people are perfectly fine with this. Some people decide to find a relative's computer, a work computer, something like that, because they do not want to lose those points. Typically, there are some further points for analysis because it's hard to get all those content words in that you can get in with a quick audio presentation, kind of like what I'm doing now. It's easier to get a sense of what's going to be covered if you hear the voice rather than just reading the slides. So now let's go into an example. So what I meant when I said this is a theoretical assignment, what I want you to understand is this is what you should put for equilibrium price. This is where the quantity demanded is going to equal the quantity supplied. See the middle of the X. You do not have to have an actual price. This is a graph or a very similar graph. You can Google equilibrium, supply and demand, and it will pop up thousands of graphs that are almost identical to this. Use something like this. You do not need an actual price. Okay, now going into what we're going to talk about within the assignment, let's give an example. This is an example of freezing weather across the US causes issues with oil production. And there is an increased demand for fuel and power. So we're seeing some volatility in prices, and this actually provides some data. You don't have to have actual data. You know, like I said, if you find some that's super, this person did, and I thought that was great, but you will not get counted off if you don't find any data. So this is the problem. This is the news article. What's going to happen here is the cost is going to increase. The consumer's inability to pay a higher price can happen in certain instances. This can lead to the consumer not having acceptable heat, having, you know, to turn off heat completely, having their heat cut off by the power company, depending on where you live. That, you know, may or may not be legal during the winter months, but you're gonna have limited funds for other expenses. So those increase in prices are gonna impact consumers negatively, and that's gonna be unfortunate. And so that's what you're supposed to determine in this. Once again, if you cannot get this assignment done, get the discussion board done on time. I can't accept those late. You can do the assignment, this presentation for this week late, up to 7 days, 5% late doc each day. If you want to send me your assignment over, that would be great. I can take a look at it. But I hope this example helped to kind of clarify what I'm looking for here. And if not, just let me know. I'm here to help. I hope you have a great week. Thanks.